right, so get ready to dive into some serious business strategies today because we're cracking open, getting everything you can out of all you've got. And let me tell you, this book is jam-packed with those aha moments that completely shift your perspective on how to achieve success. We're not just talking about getting by, we're talking about multiplying your success and income.
You know, what really struck me about this book is that it doesn't try to sell you some magic one-size-fits-all solution. It's more about understanding the core mechanics of how your business works and making these small, strategic tweaks that create this ripple effect, ultimately leading to significant growth.
Okay, so let's break that down. The book starts off with this concept called the 10% increase.
Mhm.
And I have to admit, when I first heard that, I was like, 10%? Really? Is that all?
Mhm.
But then I saw the math, and it really got me thinking.
Yeah, it's surprising, right? Just imagine increasing your number of clients, the value of each transaction, and how often those transactions happen all by just 10%. It seems almost too simple, right? But the book lays out how this can lead to a 33% increase in your income.
33%, that's working smarter, not harder, right? But how does that actually play out in the real world? Give me an example.
Absolutely. Let's say you're running a business and you're bringing in $200,000 a year. You've got a good base of 1,000 clients, each spending an average of $100, and they make a purchase twice a year. Now, let's bump each of those numbers by just 10%. So now you've got 1,100 clients, each spending $110 2.2 times a year. Doesn't seem like a huge change, does it?
Okay, I'm doing the math in my head. That's going to add up to something significant, right?
You bet it does. You're now looking at an income of $266,200. And the best part is these aren't some radical, impossible changes. It's about finding those areas where you can make small, manageable improvements. And when you add them all up, boom, massive payoff.
So that's what I'm talking about. No need for some crazy overhaul that leaves you feeling totally overwhelmed. Just find those little things you can tweak, those small hinges that swing big doors, right? The book also mentions this case study about a company that tripled their sales in just 9 months. We're talking a 300% increase, not just 10. How do they do it? What's their secret?
That example perfectly illustrates the power of incentives.
Yeah.
So this company was stuck in a rut. They decided to shake things up and totally revamped their sales compensation plan. They shifted the focus from individual sales profit to overall company profit.
Interesting. So instead of everyone just fending for themselves, they found a way to connect individual success to the overall success of the company.
Precisely. Before, salespeople were getting a fixed percentage of the profit from each sale they made. So naturally, they're focused on squeezing every last penny out of each individual deal, even if it means a smaller sale for the company in the long run, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. If they're not selling the priciest product every single time, they're not going to maximize their own commission, even if it means less overall profit for the company. How did they turn that around?
They flipped the script. Instead of getting a big slice of a small pie, they started getting a smaller percentage, say 2%, but of a much larger pie, the overall company profit. Suddenly, their income is directly tied to how well the company is doing as a whole, not just their individual wins.
All right, I have to know, did this new approach actually work, or did it backfire?
It was a home run. Salespeople quickly realized that by bringing in more clients and closing bigger deals, even with a smaller percentage, their earning potential was through the roof. The company's profits skyrocketed, and the salespeople's incomes followed suit. Win-win, right?
Now that's what I call smart business. It just goes to show that sometimes a small shift in perspective can make all the difference. This reminds me of the idea of preeminence that the book talks about, this idea of shifting your focus from me to you, from what you can get to what you can give. Sounds simple, but it's so powerful.
Absolutely. This strategy is all about trust and loyalty. Instead of just being another salesperson trying to make a quick buck, you become a trusted advisor, a partner in their success. You take the time to really understand their needs, what they want to achieve, and you guide them toward the best solutions, even if it means a smaller sale in the short term.
It's about playing the long game, building that relationship so they become repeat customers and even recommend you to their friends and colleagues.
Exactly. And that's where the idea of client lifetime value comes into play. The book stresses that a client's worth isn't just about one single transaction. It's about the potential profit they represent over years of repeat business. That's huge.
You're right. That's a crucial point that I think a lot of businesses miss. They get so caught up in that immediate sale, that quick win, that they completely miss the bigger picture, the lifetime value of a loyal customer. And speaking of the bigger picture, the book spends some time on the importance of having a unique selling proposition, or USP. So what makes a USP really stand out from the crowd?
Think of your USP like your secret sauce, the thing that sets you apart. It's that unique benefit that you offer, something that makes it, and I love how the book puts it, irrational for clients to choose someone else. It's not just about being different. It's about being different in a way that truly matters to your ideal customer.
It's about finding that sweet spot where what makes you unique aligns perfectly with what your customers value most.
You got it. Think about Domino's Pizza. When they first came on the scene, their USP was revolutionary. Hot, fresh pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. No one else was doing that at the time. They identified a real pain point for their customers waiting forever for lukewarm pizza, and they offered a solution that was impossible to ignore.
Brilliant. It's not just about having a USP, it's about having one that solves a real problem for your customer.
And then you've got the sharper image. They set themselves apart by focusing on really unique, high-quality products and providing exceptional customer service. Their founder personally tested and endorsed every single product they sold, and they offered a 1-month risk-free trial, a price match guarantee, even a frequent buyer program. They went above and beyond to create an experience that was in a league of its own.
Wow, they were really pulling out all the stops to create an irresistible offer. It sounds like they understood that a strong USP isn't just about words, it's about backing it up with a customer experience that truly delivers on that promise. Speaking of exceeding expectations, the book talks about making strategic small losses to secure long-term, high-profit clients. Now, this sounds counterintuitive at first, but it makes sense when you think about the lifetime value of a client, right?
Absolutely. It's like making a small investment up front to reap much larger rewards later on. The book gives a great example of an air conditioning company that would offer these ridiculously cheap tune-up services in the spring. Like they were losing money on every single one.
Okay, but why would they do that? I mean, it seems counterintuitive to intentionally lose money, right?
It's all about playing the long game. You see, by getting their foot in the door with this initial, incredibly appealing offer, they significantly increase their chances of getting repeat business and upselling those customers later on.
So they're taking a small hit up front to build that trust and demonstrate their value, knowing that it'll ultimately lead to a much bigger return down the line. I get it. It's strategic.
Exactly. It's not just about that one-time transaction. It's about building those long-term relationships. And speaking of relationships, the book also dives into this really interesting concept called host-beneficiary relationships. If you've ever heard of those.
Host-beneficiary. Not really. What are those exactly?
So imagine tapping into a network of potential customers who are already familiar with and trust another business. That's essentially what a host-beneficiary relationship is all about. It's about partnering up with businesses that aren't your direct competitors, but they serve a similar target audience.
Okay, so you're basically cross-promoting each other's products or services, right? Leveraging each other's existing customer base.
You got it. It's a win-win situation. You get access to a whole new pool of potential customers, and they get to offer their existing customers something new and valuable.
I like it. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you're a restaurant owner and you're looking to attract new diners. You could partner up with a local car dealership and offer them, say, a certain amount of restaurant credit that they can use for client appreciation gifts or employee perks. In exchange, they agree to promote your restaurant to their customer base.
Okay, so the dealership gets something of value, those restaurant credits, and you get exposure to a whole new group of potential customers who already trust that dealership.
Exactly. It's a much warmer introduction than, say, a cold call or a random Facebook ad.
Absolutely. It makes sense. So how would a business go about finding those perfect partners for these host-beneficiary relationships? I'm guessing it requires some out-of-the-box thinking.
Yeah, you have to be willing to look beyond your immediate industry and think about those businesses that align with your target audience, but aren't directly competing with what you offer. For example, a financial advisor might partner with a real estate agent, or a personal trainer could partner up with a nutritionist.
It's about those natural synergies, those businesses that complement each other's services.
Right. And when you approach potential partners, make it a no-brainer for them. Be clear about the benefits, and be open to creative solutions that work for everyone.
I'm sure some business owners might be hesitant to enter these types of partnerships, though. What are some common objections that come up, and how do you overcome them?
One big one is that fear of stepping on each other's toes. Businesses might worry that promoting another business will somehow take away from their own customers or create confusion.
Yeah, they don't want to dilute their own brand or message. So how do you address that concern?
It's all about emphasizing that you're not competing for the same customers. You're actually enhancing their existing offerings. By partnering with you, they're adding value to their customer relationships.
It's like saying, hey, We're not here to steal your spotlight. We're here to make it even brighter.
Yeah.
Now, what about the financial side of things? Businesses want to see the numbers. They want to know what's in it for them, right?
Absolutely. You have to have those details ready. Clearly outline the financial arrangement and demonstrate how they'll benefit financially. This might involve offering a percentage of sales generated through their referrals or a flat fee for each new customer. Be creative.
Right. You have to make it worth their while. Speaking of making things worthwhile, let's talk about client referrals. The book really emphasizes the importance of having a system in place for generating referrals. Why are they so crucial in today's business world?
Referrals are gold, absolute gold. They're like the holy grail of marketing because they're rooted in trust. When someone you know and trust recommends a business or a product, it holds so much more weight than any fancy ad campaign.
It's the most powerful kind of social proof, right?
Hmm.
We're more likely to trust a recommendation from a friend than some random ad we see online.
Exactly. It all starts with consistently exceeding your client's expectations. People are far more likely to recommend businesses that they genuinely love, businesses that go above and beyond for them.
It's true. You can't expect referrals if you're not delivering exceptional products or services.
Hmm.
But you can't just sit back and hope for referrals to magically appear.
Right, right. Don't be shy about asking for referrals. Make it easy for them to refer you. Give them the tools, whether it's brochures, business cards, or even pre-written emails they can easily forward. Remind them that you appreciate their referrals. It's the best compliment they can give.
And don't be afraid to incentivize those referrals.
Exactly. Everyone loves a good incentive. Offer a discount, a bonus, something that would genuinely motivate them to spread the word.
It's about being proactive and
Mm.
making referrals a systematic part of how your business operates. So we've talked a lot about building relationships with clients, but the book also talks about the importance of building a strong internal team. It emphasizes that success is not a solo sport. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. No one builds something great alone. You need a team of talented, dedicated people who share your vision.
It's about recognizing your own strengths and weaknesses and then finding people who excel in those areas where you might need some support. Speaking of support, the book also stresses the importance of delegating tasks that aren't the best use of your time and energy.
Delegation is huge, especially for business owners. Your time is your most valuable asset, so don't waste it on tasks that someone else can handle more efficiently. Focus your energy on the big picture, the things that really move the needle for your business.
It's about working smarter, not harder. And when you delegate effectively, you're not just freeing up your own time, you're empowering your team to step up, take ownership, and really contribute their unique skills and talents. But building a strong team goes beyond just delegating tasks, doesn't it? It's about more than just checking boxes on a to-do list.
Absolutely. It's about creating a positive, supportive company culture, a culture where everyone feels valued, respected, and appreciated. When people feel good about the work they do and the people they work with, they're going to be more engaged, more productive, and more invested in the company's success. It's about fostering a sense of ownership and camaraderie.
It's amazing how much more you can achieve when you've got that kind of positive energy and synergy flowing within a team, right?
Speaking of energy, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about marketing. The book delves into some old school but still effective marketing tactics, like direct mail. Is direct mail really still a thing in today's digital world? It seems like everything is online now.
You might be surprised. Direct mail can still be incredibly effective. Think about how many emails you get every single day. It's overwhelming. It's easy to just hit that delete button without even reading them.
Don't even get me started on spam. It's like a never-ending battle.
Exactly. But with direct mail, you're cutting through that digital clutter. A physical piece of mail, something tangible that they can hold in their hands that stands out.
It's like getting a handwritten letter. It just feels more personal, more thoughtful.
Right.
Exactly. While digital marketing is important, there's still something powerful about that physical connection.
I could see that. So for businesses that are considering using direct mail, what are some key things to keep in mind to make sure it actually gets results? I mean, we've all received those generic flyers that go straight into the recycling bin.
It all starts with crafting a compelling sales letter. It has to tell a story, highlight the benefits, and make it crystal clear what's in it for the recipient.
So no more just listing a bunch of bullet points and hoping for the best. It's about putting in the effort to create something that's actually engaging.
Right. And make sure you have a strong call to action. Don't leave it up to chance. Tell them exactly what you want them to do, whether it's visiting your website, calling for a quote, or returning a reply card. Make it easy for them to take that next step.
And don't forget about the envelope itself. A catchy tagline or a teaser on the outside can make all the difference in whether someone opens it or tosses it aside.
Oh, absolutely. That envelope is your first impression, so make it count. Now, while we're on the topic of traditional marketing tactics, what are your thoughts on telemarketing?
I'll be honest, I'm that person who sends unknown numbers straight to voicemail.
Yeah, telemarketing gets a bad rap, and for good reason. But it can still be an effective way to connect with potential customers if it's done right. The key is being respectful of people's time and approaching the conversation in a way that's helpful, not intrusive and pushy.
So no more robotic sales scripts.
Exactly. No one wants to be subjected to a robotic sales pitch. Instead of launching into a rehearsed script, focus on building rapport. Ask questions, listen actively, and try to make it a real conversation, not just the sales call.
I like that, focusing on connecting with the person on the other end of the line. What are some practical tips for businesses that want to use telemarketing effectively?
First and foremost, get permission to continue the conversation. No one likes to feel pressured or trapped. Clearly state who you are, why you're calling, and what you have to offer. Give them a reason to keep listening.
It's about respecting their time and giving them an easy out if they're not interested, right?
Exactly. And it helps to have a well-crafted script, but don't be afraid to go off script if the conversation takes a natural turn. Anticipate those common questions or concerns customers might have and be prepared to address them.
It's all about being prepared. That seems to be a recurring theme here, and for good reason. Now, speaking of being prepared, let's talk about testing. The book highlights the importance of testing different aspects of your marketing, from headlines to offers to guarantees. It's all about finding what works best.
Testing is crucial. It takes the guesswork out of marketing and helps you make smarter decisions based on real data, not just assumptions.
So it's like having a feedback loop, right? You
Hmm.
get to see what's resonating with your target audience, what's working and what's not, and then you can adjust your strategies accordingly.
Exactly. And the great thing about testing is that it doesn't have to be complicated or expensive. Start small. Test your headlines, your calls to action, and then once you've gathered some data, you can move on to testing bigger things, like your offers, your pricing, or your landing pages.
It's about making testing an ongoing process, always looking for ways to improve and optimize your marketing efforts. Now, the book also mentions something that we don't hear much about these days: barter. What are your thoughts on bartering as a business strategy? Is that still relevant in today's world?
Bartering often gets overlooked, but it can be a fantastic tool, especially for businesses that have products or services that lend themselves well to trading.
Give me an example. How does that work in a modern business context? Help me wrap my head around it.
Sure. Let's say you need a new piece of equipment for your business, but you don't want to shell out a ton of cash for it right now. Instead of paying for it outright, why not approach the supplier and see if they'd be open to a trade? Maybe they could use some of your products or services in exchange for the equipment.
Ah, I see. So they get what they need, you get what you need, and no money changes hands.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. And it can be particularly helpful for businesses that have excess inventory or those that are seasonal. They can use barter to clear out that stock and generate new business during their slower periods.
I like it. It's a creative way to solve problems and build those mutually beneficial relationships. Speaking of building, the book also talks about the importance of setting clear goals.
Goals are your roadmap to success. Without that clear destination in mind, you're just wandering aimlessly.
That's so true. It's easy to get sidetracked and lose sight of what you're working towards if you don't have those goals in place.
Right. And those goals need to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So no more vague goals like, I want to be successful. We need specifics.
Exactly. Those are wishes, not goals. A well-defined goal might be increase sales by 15% in the next quarter, or launch a new product line by the end of the year.
I like that. Those are goals you can actually track progress towards and hold yourself accountable to.
Precisely. And once you have those goals, don't just leave them floating around in your head. Write them down, break them down to smaller steps. It makes them feel less daunting, and you're much more likely to achieve them when you break them down that way.
It's like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right?
Exactly. Don't let the size of your goals paralyze you. Just take it one step at a time.
Solid advice. This book has so many great nuggets of wisdom. Now, one thing that really resonated with me was the emphasis on constantly seeking out new ideas, even from outside your own industry.
It's so important to be a student of the world, you know? Always be learning, be curious, and expose yourself to new ideas and ways of thinking.
So read books, listen to podcasts, Attend conferences, basically.
Mhm.
Anything that expands your horizons.
Exactly. Never stop learning. You never know where that next great idea will come from. Keep your eyes open and your mind receptive.
I've got to ask, do you have any tips for being more intentional about capturing those flashes of brilliance? Sometimes those aha moments strike, but then they vanish just as quickly.
Yeah, always have a way to jot down those ideas. Keep a notebook handy. Use the voice memo app on your phone, whatever works for you. Don't let those brilliant ideas slip away.
Great advice. Speaking of great ideas, the book also encourages readers to embrace experimentation.
Experimentation is essential. What works for one business might not work for another. Don't be afraid to step outside that comfort zone, try new things, and see what happens.
Embrace that growth mindset. Be open to new possibilities. The business world is constantly changing, so we have to be willing to adapt, evolve, and innovate to stay ahead of the game. This book has given us so much food for thought. I'm curious, though, what are your thoughts on breakthroughs? The book dedicates a whole section to them.
Breakthroughs are those aha moments, those game-changing innovations that can completely transform a business.
They're like those quantum leaps forward that can propel you to a whole new level of success. But they don't just happen by accident, do they? What does it take to cultivate those breakthroughs? What's the secret sauce?
I think breakthroughs are often the result of challenging the status quo. It's about questioning those assumptions, looking for those unconventional solutions, and being willing to see things from a fresh perspective.
So it's about being proactive, actively seeking out those breakthrough moments, rather than just waiting for them to magically appear. Do you have any tips for how we can become more deliberate in our pursuit of those breakthroughs? How can we create the conditions for them to occur?
One powerful strategy is to look outside of your immediate field for inspiration. See what other industries are doing. You never know, the solution to a challenge in your business might be found in a completely unrelated field.
I love that cross-pollination of ideas. Sometimes the best solutions are found in the most unexpected places. It reminds me of Henry Ford and how he had this interesting hiring practice.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. He wouldn't hire someone for a key position until he'd had lunch with them.
Exactly. And if they salted their food before tasting it, they were out. No job offer for them. Can you believe that?
It sounds crazy, but he actually had a really interesting reason for it.
Okay, now I have to know. Why on earth would he do that?
Well, he believed that people who salt their food before tasting it are making assumptions. They're not open to new experiences, new perspectives. They've already made up their minds before they've even tried something new.
Wow, that's actually a pretty insightful observation. I'd never thought of it that way.
Yeah, and it speaks to the importance of approaching challenges with an open mind. Be willing to challenge your own assumptions. Don't be afraid to experiment, to color outside the lines, and try new things. You never know what you might discover.
I'm also starting to think that embracing failure is a key part of this breakthrough mindset, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to encounter setbacks. It's inevitable. But it's how you view those setbacks that make all the difference. The book emphasizes that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a stepping stone. It's through those failures that we learn, we grow, and we ultimately achieve those breakthroughs.
It's about having the resilience to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. Even, or maybe especially when things get tough. Now, speaking of tough, the online world can feel like a whole different ballgame when it comes to success. Are there any unique considerations for those looking to thrive in the digital landscape?
Oh, absolutely. The internet operates by its own set of rules. It's its own unique environment.
Well, let's dive into that a bit. The book stresses the importance of having a strong online presence. A website, for example, is crucial in today's world. It's like the digital front door to your business.
It's so important. It's the first impression potential customers will get, and you know what they say about first impressions, right?
You've only got one shot to make a good first impression.
Exactly. Your website needs to be engaging, informative, and easy to navigate.
It's like your 24/7 salesperson working tirelessly to convert those website visitors into loyal customers.
Right. And to attract those visitors in the first place, you need to make sure they can actually find your website, right? That's where SEO comes in.
Ah, yes, SEO. It's something that every business owner has heard of, but I'm not sure everyone fully understands how it works or why it's so important. Can you break it down for us?
So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's basically the art and science of making sure your website shows up high in those search engine results pages like Google. Think about it. When you search for something online, how often do you actually click past the first page of results?
Rarely.
Exactly. Most people don't. So you have to be where your customers are looking. SEO is all about optimizing your website and its content with things like keywords, so those search engines understand what your website is all about and can rank it accordingly.
So it's not just about stuffing your website with a bunch of keywords and hoping for the best. It's about creating high-quality, relevant content that people actually want to read.
You got it. Now, another important piece of the SEO puzzle is building backlinks.
Backlinks. Okay, refresh my memory on those. What are those again?
So think of backlinks as votes of confidence from other websites. They're basically links from those other websites that point back to yours. They tell those search engines that your site is credible, trustworthy, and worth checking out.
So the more backlinks you have pointing back to your website, the more likely your site is to rank higher in those search results.
Exactly. And remember, quality over quantity. A backlink from a well-respected website in your industry is way more valuable than a bunch of random low-quality links.
It's about building those relationships, not just chasing numbers.
You got it. Now let's shift gears to another crucial aspect of online marketing: social media. How can businesses use platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter effectively to drive traffic to their websites and ultimately generate leads?
That's a great question. It seems like you need to be everywhere these days, but social media can also feel like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a powerful tool for connecting with people, but it can also feel like a lot to keep up with.
It's constantly changing and evolving, and it can feel like you're shouting into the void sometimes.
Definitely. It's not enough to just create a bunch of profiles and start randomly posting. You need to be strategic.
Have a plan.
You need a plan. Know who you're trying to reach, where they hang out online, and what kind of content they want to see.
So if you're trying to reach a younger demographic, you might prioritize TikTok. But if you're targeting a more professional audience, LinkedIn might be a better bet.
Exactly. And no matter what platform you're using, you want to create engaging, valuable content stuff that people actually want to read, watch, and share.
The book also emphasizes that social media shouldn't be a one-way street. It's not just about broadcasting your message, it's about engaging in conversations, building relationships, and providing value to your followers.
Social media is about being social, right? So respond to comments, answer questions, participate in conversations. The more engaged you are, the more likely people are to remember you.
It's about building a community, a tribe, a group of people who feel connected to your brand. Now let's talk about paid advertising, specifically online advertising. It seems like it's almost unavoidable these days if you really want to stand out from the crowd. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, organic reach that's reaching people without paying for ads is getting tougher and tougher, especially on platforms like Facebook and Instagram.
It's definitely a pay-to-play game these days.
Exactly. Paid advertising can be incredibly effective, especially when it comes to targeting very specific demographics, interests, and even online behaviors. You can target people who visited your website, shown interest in your competitors, or fit a specific demographic profile.
The possibilities are endless with all the data and targeting options available. It can feel a little overwhelming at times, though, if you're not familiar with it. What are some things to keep in mind when it comes to online advertising?
The great thing about online advertising is that it's very measurable. You can track your results closely and see what's working and what's not.
So you can actually see what you're getting for your money. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Exactly. Pay close attention to metrics like click-through rates, conversion rates, and cost per acquisition. This data will give you valuable insights into what's working and help you make smarter decisions about where to allocate your advertising budget.
So you can make those data-driven decisions. Now, let's talk about another powerful online marketing tool, email marketing. The book is a big proponent of building an email list, which seems a little old school in today's world of instant messaging and social media. Is email marketing really still relevant?
Absolutely. I'd argue that email marketing is more important now than ever before.
Really? Tell me more.
It's one of the most effective ways to build direct relationships with your audience, nurture those relationships over time, and communicate with them on your terms. You own your email list. You're not at the mercy of those social media algorithms that can change on a whim.
It's like having a direct line of communication with your audience, a connection that you control.
Exactly. And you don't have to worry about algorithm changes impacting your reach. You hit send, and you know it's going directly to their inbox. But you do have to give people a good reason to hand over their email address, right?
Exactly. What's the secret to building that email list? What makes people want to subscribe?
It's simple. Offer something valuable in exchange for their email address. Think about what your target audience really wants, what problems they need solved, and then create something irresistible that addresses those needs. It could be a free ebook, a discount code, a webinar, anything that provides real value.
It's about giving them a compelling reason to join your community. But once you have their email address, it doesn't stop there, does it?
Yeah.
You have to nurture that relationship.
You got it. Don't just hit them with a bunch of sales pitches. That's a surefire way to get those unsubscribes. Focus on providing value. Share your expertise, offer helpful tips, and position yourself as that trusted resource.
Become that go-to expert that people trust and enjoy hearing from. Speaking of trust, the book also talks about the importance of segmenting your email list. Can you tell us more about that?
Segmentation is about making sure you're sending the right message to the right people at the right time. Instead of blasting everyone on your list with the same generic email, you're dividing your subscribers into smaller groups based on their interests, demographics, or past behavior.
So if someone has shown interest in a particular product or service, you can send them targeted emails about that specific offering, rather than just sending them random information that might not be relevant to them at all.
Exactly. It's about making your emails more relevant and engaging.
It makes a lot of sense. So we've covered a lot of ground here: SEO, social media, paid advertising, email marketing. Now I want to talk about storytelling, which the book emphasizes as being such a powerful tool, especially in today's world where we're bombarded with so many marketing messages. Why do you think stories resonate so deeply with people?
Well, I think storytelling is hardwired into our DNA. They help us make sense of the world, connect with each other on a deeper level, and find meaning in our own experiences. It's how we've always communicated and shared information.
We're drawn to stories. We get emotionally invested. It's how we relate to each other.
Exactly. And when you can weave storytelling into your marketing, you make your brand more relatable, more human, more memorable.
It's about tapping into that emotional connection. So how can businesses do that effectively? What makes a story truly resonate with an audience?
It always comes back to authenticity. People can spot a fake from a mile away, share your why you do what you do, the challenges you've overcome, the lessons you've learned.
Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Let people see your human side.
Exactly. Show them there's a real person behind the brand.
Speaking of real, genuine connection, I love how the book emphasizes relationships. It's not just about transactions and making money. It's about building genuine, mutually beneficial relationships with your customers, your vendors, even your employees.
Relationships are everything. They're the foundation of any successful business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about keeping score, It's not about what can I get out of this relationship. It's about being someone who adds value, who shows appreciation, and who genuinely wants to see others succeed.
It's about shifting from a me-focused mindset to a we-focused mindset.
Exactly. And those relationships, those are what will sustain you through the inevitable ups and downs that come with running a business.
So true. This book is such a great reminder that we're all in this together. We need each other.
Okay.
Now, speaking of needing each other, I think this is a great segue into another important topic for online businesses: building an email list. The book stresses that this is one of the most valuable things you can do for your business.
That's right. It's one of the most valuable assets you can build for your business, especially in the online world.
I can see why. When you've got all these social media algorithms controlling what people see, having an email list is like having that direct line to your audience.
Exactly. You're not at the mercy of those algorithms. You don't have to worry about whether or not your message is actually going to reach the people who need to see it.
You hit send, and you know it's landing right in their inbox.
Exactly. But you have to give people a good reason to hand over their email address in the first place, right?
Right. It's not just about sticking a form on your website and hoping for the best. What's the secret to getting people to actually subscribe? What makes them want to join your email list?
Value. You have to offer something valuable in exchange for that email address. Think about the problems your target audience is facing, the questions they need answered. What can you offer them that would genuinely help them?
So maybe a free ebook, a discount code, a webinar, something irresistible.
Exactly. Give them a reason to want to be a part of your community.
Make it a no-brainer. But once you've got them on your list, the work doesn't stop there. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Building that email list is just the first step. Then comes the really important part: nurturing those relationships, consistently providing value, and staying top of mind so you're the one they think of when they're ready to buy.
Okay, so no spamming them with endless sales pitches.
Definitely not. No one wants to feel like they're being constantly sold to. Instead, think of yourself as that trusted friend, that advisor who's always there to help. Share your expertise, offer helpful tips and resources, and just be genuinely valuable.
Become that go-to expert, the one
So
they can always rely on. The book also talks about segmenting your email list. Can you unpack that a little bit? Why is that important?
segmenting your list is all about sending the right message to the right person at the right time. Instead of blasting your entire list with the same email, you're dividing your subscribers into smaller, more targeted groups. This way, you can personalize your messages and make sure they're relevant to each subscriber.
So let's say someone signs up for your email list because they downloaded a free guide about social media marketing. You can then segment them into a group that receives emails specifically about social media tips and strategies.
Exactly. They're much more likely to engage with those emails because they're relevant to their interests. And when people engage with your emails, it means higher open rates, more clicks, and ultimately more conversions.
It's all about working smarter, not harder. Now, shifting gears a bit here, I want to talk about the power of storytelling, which the book emphasizes as being such an important part of connecting with your audience, especially in a world that's oversaturated with marketing messages. What do you think makes stories so powerful? Why do they resonate so deeply?
I think it's because stories tap into something primal within us. They transcend cultural and linguistic barriers. They're how we make sense of the world, how we connect with each other.
We're hardwired for stories. That's how we've always learned and shared information, passed down wisdom through generations.
Exactly. And when you incorporate storytelling into your business, into your marketing, you create an emotional connection with your audience that you just can't get with traditional advertising.
So it's not just about listing features and benefits or shouting about how great your product is. It's about sharing your why, the story behind your brand, the struggles you've overcome, the lessons you've learned.
Exactly. People want to connect with the human side of your brand. They want to know that there's a story there. And that story, that's what makes you memorable. That's what makes you stand out.
I love that. So much of what we've talked about today comes back to that human element, building real connections, being authentic, and sharing your story with the world. Now, speaking of authenticity, one of the things that really struck me about this book is the emphasis on cultivating the right mindset for success. It's not just about the strategies and the tactics, it's about having that internal foundation that allows you to weather those storms and achieve those big goals.
I couldn't agree more. Your mindset is everything. It's the lens through which you view the world and everything that happens to you.
And if you have a negative mindset, if you're constantly focusing on what's wrong or what you lack, it doesn't matter how many brilliant strategies you have, you're starting from a place of disadvantage.
It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It's not going to last. You need that solid foundation of a positive, growth-oriented mindset.
It's about believing in yourself, in your ability to achieve those goals and overcome challenges, even when things get tough.
Exactly. And a big part of cultivating that success mindset is practicing gratitude. When you focus on what you're grateful for, it shifts your entire perspective.
It's about recognizing all the good that already exists in your life.
Exactly. It shifts your focus away from scarcity and lack and opens you up to more abundance, more opportunities.
I love that. It's about training your mind to focus on the positive, to see the good, and to appreciate all the amazing things that are already present in your life. And when you approach life from that place of gratitude and abundance, it opens up so many more possibilities.
Exactly. It's a game changer.
This book has given us so much to think about, so many valuable insights, so many practical strategies. It's a great reminder that success is not some elusive thing that's out of reach. It's about constantly learning, growing, and challenging yourself to be better.
And taking action.
Yes, knowledge without action is meaningless. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this. What's one small step you can take today, right now, to move you closer to those big goals? What action can you take, no matter how small, to create positive change in your business and your life? Remember, success is a journey, not a destination. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to reach your full potential.
Well said.
That's it for our deep dive today. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of getting everything you can out of all you've got. Until next time, keep those wheels turning and never stop striving for greatness.